Most humanoid robots are built around motors. Clone Robotics built one around muscles. Real ones. And what they created in a lab in Wrocław, Poland, is unlike anything else in the robotics industry right now. The invention that started it all, the story, starts not in a robotics lab, but in a physicist's grief. Joseph McKibben worked on the Manhattan Project. But the invention that defined his legacy had nothing to do with nuclear weapons. His daughter lost the use of her hands. McKibben spent years trying to give them back. What he eventually created was the pneumatic artificial muscle, a rubber tube wrapped in an inextensible braided sleeve. When pressurized with fluid, it expands radially. And that expansion converts into a linear contracting force along a single axis. A tube and some air, replicating the mechanism of skeletal muscle. It worked. McKibben's daughter was able to eat and write again. The invention disappeared from mainstream use for decades afterward, considered too weak and too complex to scale. Lucas, now CTO of Clone Robotics, found it years later and became obsessed. He saw something in the design that others had missed. Not the weakness, but the principle. A muscle that contracts by filling with pressure rather than spinning with a motor is fundamentally different in how it generates force and how it feels in motion. The weakness was real. Air pressure wasn't enough. But water was a different story. The breakthrough, myofiber switching from air to hydraulics, changed everything. Water carries real mechanical force. A hydraulic pump, unlike an air compressor, fits compactly inside an abdomen-sized cavity. The whole system becomes self-contained. What Lucas and Danush Radhakrishnan, the company's CEO, developed from that insight is what they call the myofiber. A single myofiber muscle weighing 1 gram can lift more than 300 times its own weight. It contracts in under 50 milliseconds, which is close to the speed of biological muscle. That number matters. Not because it sounds impressive, but because it defines what kind of motion is possible. Fast, soft, force-variable movement is exactly what human dexterity requires. Motors can be powerful and precise, but they don't inherently provide the variable compliance that lets a hand grip a wine glass and a wrench in the same minute without breaking either. Myofiber does. The hand that nobody else has built clones started with the hand. That decision was deliberate. If you can solve the hand, you understand the hardest problem in physical manipulation. The human hand has 27 degrees of freedom, dozens of muscles, ligaments, tendons, and joints, working simultaneously in ways that no rigid motor-driven system has ever fully replicated. Clone's robotic hand has over 20 degrees of freedom. It can lift up to 15 pounds. It can grip fragile objects without crushing them, because 320 pressure sensors embedded through the muscles and skin feed constant real-time data back to the control system. The hand adjusts grip force continuously without being explicitly commanded to do so. Dhanush described it in the factory context. The hand can use human tools. Standard tools. Tools designed for human fingers, not robotic claws. That is the benchmark. And within the first 18 months of the company's existence, they hit it. 3 years after the hand, Clone revealed the torso. In 2025, they unveiled Protoclone, the complete android. What Protoclone actually is, Protoclone is not a robot wrapped in a human shell. It is a robot built like a human from the inside out. The skeleton is three-dimensional printed from lightweight polymer, over 200 bones. The muscles, more than 1,000 myofiber units, attach at anatomically accurate points along the skeleton, the same attachment geometry as biological muscle. That means the range of motion and the force vectors during movement match human mechanics rather than approximating them. Inside the ribcage sits the valve system, the synthetic equivalent of organs. At the center of that system is a hydraulic pump, the beating heart of the robot. It pushes fluid through the artificial muscles in the same way a biological heart circulates blood. And the fluid serves a second function beyond actuation. It regulates temperature. The water flowing through the muscles carries heat away from areas under load, the same thermal management principle that blood flow performs in a biological body. The degrees of freedom comparison is stark. Competing humanoid robots, including platforms from Tesla, Figure, and 1X, operate with between 30 and 60 degrees of freedom. Protoclone has over 200. That gap is not cosmetic. More degrees of freedom means more natural motion in every interaction. It means the shoulder doesn't lock up when reaching across a table. It means the wrist can rotate in ways that allow a screwdriver to be used correctly. It means the whole body can move the way a body actually moves, rather than approximating it with a reduced set of actuated joints. Silicon Valley, AN the roadmap in 2026. At the Abundance Summit, Dhanush Radhakrishnan outlined where the company is heading next. Clone has opened a second office in Mountain View, California, moving from its Polish origins into the center of the global technology industry. The transition signals that the company is no longer in pure development mode. It is preparing to scale. The roadmap Radhakrishnan described has 3 near-term targets. First, autonomous walking. Protoclone currently operates while suspended from cables, which support its weight while the balance and locomotion systems continue training. Getting a hydraulically actuated biped to walk without external support is genuinely one of the hardest open problems in robotics. Bipedal balance is not a simple physics problem. It requires continuous integration of vestibular equivalent sensing, ground contact feedback, and predictive muscle adjustment. Clone is training the locomotion model through physics simulation, running thousands of parallel virtual instances before the movements are transferred to the physical robot. The next generation system, Clone Alpha, is being designed around independent walking. Second, a face. Protoclone currently has no facial features. The company has been deliberate about this. A face that doesn't quite work is worse than no face. The uncanny valley penalty for a face that's almost right is severe and immediate. Replicating all 40 facial muscles with enough precision to reproduce micro-expressions accurately is a separate engineering challenge from the rest of the robot. Clone is treating it as a distinct product development track rather than rushing it into the main platform. Third, commercial deployment. The first target market is what Radhakrishnan calls the robo-butler category. Personal assistant robots that learn from the specific person they work with. The vision is direct. The robot stands behind you, observes what you do, learns your preferences, and then performs those tasks independently. Cooking the way you like it cooked. Handling the household tasks that drain time and energy. Existing in your life the way a smartphone does today. Integrated and present rather than occasional and specialized. The intelligence question training a humanoid robot is not the same problem as training a language model. ChatGPT and its successors have processed more text than any human could read in 1,000 lifetimes. But they have never lifted an object. They have never felt the resistance of a stuck drawer or the softness of an overripe piece of fruit. They have no calibrated understanding of physical consequence. Clone's approach to this problem is simulation-based training at scale. Virtual environments where hundreds of Android instances can fail, recover, and iterate simultaneously. The robot learns what language models cannot. The weight of things, the friction of surfaces, the timing that separates a catch from a drop. Radhakrishnan made an argument at the Abundance Summit that reframes the whole question of AI and physical form. A superintelligence without a body, he said, is a superintelligence that can't act in the world where humans actually live. Most of what people want an intelligent system to do happens in physical space. And if the robot shares human proportions and human fragility, it becomes safer to be around. Protoclone isn't built to be indestructible. It has the same joint limits and mechanical vulnerabilities a human body has. That's not a flaw. That's a design choice driven by the recognition that something living and working alongside people needs to be something people aren't afraid of. The robot currently runs on an NVIDIA Jetson chip for onboard processing. Longer term, Clone expects to distribute processing throughout the body, embedding chips at key points. Something like a nervous system rather than a single centralized brain. What they've built already is unlike anything else in the field. What they're building next might be the thing that finally makes the question shift from whether robots can do what humans do to what happens when they can.